Okay, welcome to another episode of Geek Shop. I'm Chetan, and with me is Chris. Chris, say hi to people.
Hey, people.
And we have a special guest today. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jeff Pacitto. I know some of these guys from way back in the day when all of Toronto was drowning in mini comics at all the usual haunts downtown, and now we've all grown up and we still do comics. They're just not mini anymore.
Yes, from the mini comic days and when there were comic book stores around everywhere.
That's true too. There's not, I was just thinking about this because I just did my previews order a couple days ago, and it's one place I order from. They're not open to the public, and I think I got 5 books for the next month, which is terrible. I used to, buy 20, 30 floppies a month, and now there was 5, and I had to struggle to find that. I kind of felt bad for them. That's why I kept looking to be like, I need to buy something from these people. This is crazy. So it's weird.
Yeah, I was actually in Toronto, about a month ago or so, and I sort of walked around Queen West and walked around the neighborhoods, and I was like, I went to Silver Snail, and it was sort of like a shell of what it used to be. And,
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of sad. It's too bad because I feel like the brick and mortar store was a big part of like the social scene. Like it was like you go to Wednesday and you'd see all your friends and everything like that. And so it's gone, which is kind of sad. And that was too, like when you're selling a mini comic or even a comic, you'd bring a few with you to the store. They would sell them there, and maybe you even talk somebody into buying one while you're there and everything like that. So it's like, it's weird.
Speaking of Silver Snail, they were so big and popular. They had like big name artists doing their annual or biannual, whatever it was, like advertisements. I think they had Manola do their snail. They had I found one the other day to send to someone to show them. They had some big name guys. Speaking about mini comics, that's I think where I first saw TikTok Tom was at Dragon Lady on their radiator. If you remember, they had a radiator by a window. They had a little thing on there. I saw TikTok Tom, I saw Dressed for Success, and I saw Silly Putty Man, which I don't know if it was a kid doing it or if the guy did it as like a joke to be that way. It was, and this is the part I was telling you guys before we started recording about being unprofessional. I grabbed, wherever I have a TikTok Tom book here, I grabbed one of these and I looked at it, and I was there with my buddies because we used to just draw comics in class instead of paying attention to the teacher and all that. And you guys may cut off this interview at this point. I looked at it and I went, oh, we can do this. This is garbage. This is so easy to do. And I didn't mean garbage in a bad way. I just meant that this is practical. This is something we can do. It's literally 8.5 by 11 paper, folded in half and stapled. So it really inspired me, that sort of stuff.
Trust me, we've been called worse, so.
Okay, all right. That's good to know.
I think we were calling each other that while making this.
Yes, that's it. No, that's what I was going to bring up. What Chris said, where, in the old days, you'd walk around with your backpack with, a dozen or so of your mini comics and the radiator on Dragon Lady Comics. It was like, I have to say, they supported mini comics like crazy because, it was front and center. You could see it as soon as you walk in.
Yeah, they didn't hide it anywhere. They were being bold and forward. Beguiling was like that a bit too. That was never really our scene. We tried doing the beguiling, but they were very much more edgy. And we were pretty standard superhero book, our Apocalyptic Dreams book we did. So that was very much more suited to TikTok Tom and stuff, was the beguiling. And Suspect Video even did it, if I remember correctly. Yes. But you're right, you used to be able to walk around and just... Silver Snail did it too, right? I don't think I was ever at Silver Snail, but they did do a small one. But it was hidden in the back where the two-way mirror was.
Back area. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because they didn't want you to steal it. I guess they put it by the two-way mirror. I don't know. 75-cent books and $2 books and stuff. But walking around in Toronto, you used to be able to literally walk between Dragon Lady, Baka Books, Silver Snail, like all these stores. Within every 10 feet, you were walking into another comic book / collectible type store like that. Not modern collectibles like Pops, but like real true mom and pop independent comic stores, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And that's when they had the old, younger kids watching this won't remember CD shops, and, clothing stores, where I'd walk in and they would say, just talking to people there and say, hey, do you want to carry my book? And, of course you had it in your backpack. You take it on and say, here's 5 copies.
What was the one? There was one on a second floor. I can't remember the name of it now, but I went there once, and I don't think they ended up taking our book. But there was a second floor. I don't remember it now. Never mind. But there was a second floor store.
I have vague memories of that place as well.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called.
Right. Yeah.
My only problem with some of the shops, Beguiling was the worst one for me. I don't think I ever sold, like I did an independent book before I met up with the TikTok Tom group, and I used to bring my books to Beguiling, and they would take them. They would happily take them, but there was so much there. There was so much independent content that I was like, as a teenager kid selling this really crudely drawn book, nobody would ever consider buying my book. So
but on the other hand,
that was the one problem.
On the other hand, Beguiling had so many books, and I used to go there, once a week or whatever, go through the comics, and that's where I found Optic Nerve, first time, like issue 2 or 3, and going, hey, what's this? But again, it's lost between hundreds of mini comics, but at least they supported, independent artists.
Yeah.
Retail space is expensive, right? Especially in Toronto. So for them to give up any space to it was kind of good. Like even at a younger, when was that? Would have been 94, I think, is when we started our comic. So I would have been, I can't do the math, but I was in my teens. We were like grade 9 or 10 or something. Canadian grade 9 or 10, because I know this goes everywhere. So grade 9 and 10 means different things probably in different places, but grade 9 and 10 Canada age. And even then I knew retail space costs money. So for them to take a spot for us was doing something for us. Like that was a good thing. And they never questioned, I don't know about you guys, but I'd go in and say, hey, you had 5 of my books, there's 2 left, that's 3 books that you sold. And they said, okay. And they gave me the, $3 for it, or whatever my cut of it was. They never questioned it. They never, did someone steal it, did whatever. For them, it was throwaway in a way, but for us, it was the world. It was like, great, we have enough money to print the next issue now, sort of thing.
Most stores that carry my book were supportive and never questioned it. And it was like, that was the great part. It was just like, like you said, you go in and say, hey, we sold this many. And they didn't care. They just wanted to support the mini. And like even Silver Snail, the manager at that time, she was like, yeah, I'll take whatever copies. Come back next month, I'll take your other books. It wasn't like, I mean, I have had some stores where I directly say, no, we don't carry that type of stuff. It's like, it was but the stores that did carry our stuff, they were amazing.
Yeah. I'd say occasionally they'd flip through it just to make sure it wasn't too bad as far as content goes. Like, Beguiling was okay, but Silver Snail would sort of flip through and just make sure, there wasn't like pornography or ultra-violence they didn't mind, but pornography I think was a big one, and they just didn't want to put something on the shelves. Although I think they said if, I was talking to them about it, and they said if you bagged it, and it was kind of edgy, they would be okay with it. But it was just because they had kids going through all the time, and they didn't want some little kid picking up some floppy and
In our infinite wisdom, I know we're talking about old stuff instead of new stuff now, but in our infinite wisdom, back then we found out from I don't know who that because in Canada you can get milk in bags, and we were young, so we drank a lot of milk because it was good for your bones, according to the government. If you washed out a milk bag, it fit a mini comic perfectly. And we had a little heat sealer, so we thought this is great. We're going to bag one of our comics, we're going to seal it up. You can put like extra stuff in there, like you were getting cards and stuff in like Marvel comics and stuff. And we thought that was a great idea. In our infinite wisdom, the first issue we sealed, I think was issue 3 of our book. It had no bonus stuff in it, so there was no like throw-in card that needed to be sealed. And we did a textured paper cover to have like a nice like linen feel to it. So it totally destroyed the whole purpose of anything we did. We spent extra money on a linen cover, put it in a plastic bag, added nothing to the plastic bag, sealed it shut, so people couldn't even look at the book to buy it. And that was issue 3. Okay. No one knew who we were, so it was just stupid.
Okay, I gotta bring this up. I never knew about. I remember your books in the plastic cover. I did not know they were milk bags.
Yeah, and in fact, I found this is gonna sound really bad, but. I'm sure it's more than 5 or 6 years ago. It's probably 20 years ago, shortly after I moved into my home. I found a stack of those bags, because at one point they changed to blue bags. So we had like 20 clear bags and like 30 blue bags. And I found a stack of them hidden somewhere amongst all my comics and stuff, because I just kept collecting them. I told everyone I knew, when you're done with your milk, wash the bag, give it to me. Thankfully, none of them smell like old milk. So,
how many bags of milk did you personally drink to just get the bag?
Oh, I was, I would probably eat, you know how you used to eat a bunch of cereal to get like the toy out of it?
No, that's what I mean. Yeah,
I would eat that much to drink the milk bags. I probably went through a bag of milk a day. And I did my comic with 2 partners, and I don't think either of them ever drank any milk, so this was all on me. But I was the one that had I guess, I don't want to call it technical know-how, but I'm the one that told them how to lay out the book, how to add the staples to it. We didn't have an extended stapler. That was like a big purchase. It was like $50 or something. We weren't going to do that. So we took a cardboard box and we folded the book over. Let me show you. We'd fold the book over the edge like that and push the staples through the cardboard box, flip it over, and then fold them by hand. Because I didn't want to spend...
That's a great idea.
I didn't have $50 to spend on an extended stapler for the, what was it, $1.50 or something we charged an issue or something, or $1 an issue.
Yeah.
So that was our workaround for it. And we just assumed everyone did it that way, but I think most people had better ways to do it than that.
No,
Kinko's used to have a stapler you could borrow occasionally. I remember a few of the locations.
Not the extended one. I don't remember the extended one. No.
I thought one of the Kinkos, I bought an.
I was like Jeff.
I was extended one.
Yeah, I was like Jeff, going, those things are really expensive.
Yeah.
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 I found an office that was going out of business or something like that, and they had one, and so I got it for like $20 instead of $50. So.
And remember, this is going back in the 90s where we're art students and stuff like that, and it's just like $50 at that time, which was like, for an art student, it's like, I'm not spending that money on that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's eating for a week. That's at least eating for a week or two.
Yeah, that's a lot of ramen you can get for that, right? So a lot of mac and cheese for that.
So I was telling Chris, one day we need to do a episode on mini comics with you on it. We did one. Our first episode was all on mini comics, and you're from the era of mini comics, where we could talk about everything. Yeah, there you go. See,
these are my stacks of mini comics from back in the day. I haven't read most of them, but I have most of them. So, actually, speaking of mini comics, it always irked me when. I think our second convention we ever went to, there was a group beside us called Culture Comics, and they were trying to do full size floppies, right? And they had and everyone was doing it at the time. They called it an ash can, and I always bugged me that it was called an ash can. I'm like, no, it's a mini comic, and I don't know
in the same way
where ash can comes from, but I'm like, no, this is called a mini comic. This is not called an ash can. It really rubbed me the wrong way, which is probably not something I should have brought up when I'm trying to, get into a scene sort of thing. I should have just said, sure, call it whatever you want. Call it garbage if you want. Just give me the $1 for it.
We should do that research, find out why it's called ash can. Because I remember in the 90s when Marvel and DC and Image was doing the they started calling them ash cans.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that term came at that time, but I'm like Jeff. I was like, no, they're called mini comics.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know that ash cans, part of the reason, they used to exist before they sold them as ash cans, and they used to release them because if you released a certain number of a comic book, it was about trademark. So it would be like what they would send to the trademark offices and stuff would be these versions, but you had to print a certain number of them, and so then they sort of sold them off as previews. So the reason they became popular to collect, I actually have some real ash cans, which are like the actual copies that they sent as previews before they did that. But they had this sort of it was a system. I don't remember the legalities of it, but Marvel and DC used to basically print the black and white art before it was done, and then they would send that to the whatever offices.
Oh yes, that's
mail
it.
To
yes,
themselves.
yeah,
that makes sense.
And then that way, when they produced the book, everything was legally set up, and they didn't have to do anything immediately as they're releasing the book or printing the book. It was sort of a faster process. So that's what I understand being the origin of the ash can. But then eventually people wanted them because they were sort of they were a really low print run. And then eventually they went, ooh, people want to buy these. And then they started printing them on purpose, which is the stupidest thing if you think about it.
For copyright purposes, though, that makes sense, right? Because you need to show use of it and everything like that, right? So, and if you do it ahead of time, exactly. You don't have to try and worry about not getting your copyright after. Also infringement, I guess, right? Exactly. You'd know ahead of time if it was infringing or not on someone else before anything happened. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Sort of all the legalities and stuff. It was sort of an early system of setting that up, but again, it got stupid because it was they became collectible, but then they shouldn't be collectible because then they started printing them on purpose. So
yeah,
it was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So
Jeff, tell us about the comic you created.
So way back in the day, as I said earlier, we saw what everyone else was doing. People like yourselves, the Agesta Comics guys that did Just for Success and stuff. And when we thought, well, we can do this. Again, not in a derogatory way. We just thought this is something we can actually do. So we made our first book. Now, I don't have a copy of the first original one. I've been reworking my workroom sort of thing. And I don't have my copies of everything because I tried to keep one copy of everything, part of my hoarder/collector culture. But this is an example of what it would have looked like, our first book. 8.5 by 11, folded in half, standard mini comic idea that you'd see. I'm assuming everywhere, but I know Toronto had a really big scene of this. There was a lot of this going on. The problem with this one is, this was drawn on 8.5 by 11 paper, folded in half, with whatever markers we could get from, it wasn't Staples at the time, it might have been Office Depot, maybe not even that. We're going way back. It was probably Grand & Toy. So Grand & Toy markers. So when I pull out the original artwork for it, it is this size, and it's bleeding and leaking everywhere, and it's kind
bleeding,
of
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's kind of questionable.
All the nasty chemicals in those markers at that time.
Yeah, and we were doing it on the back of what now would be called goose paper, which is good one-side paper. So I would take whatever random print-offs didn't work at my dad's job or something like that, or whatever, or actually some of it was even printed on old dot matrix paper, with the perforations on the side. You tear that off, and if you remember that paper, it did not hold ink well at all. That the minute you touched it, it bled everywhere, because that was designed to take a hammer in of ink, so it was absorbing everything. Yeah. So some of it's even drawn on that. It still exists. I still have all that. It's in little manila envelopes, labeled issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, up to 12, I think, was our last issue. So that's how we started it. Then about, 2014, so almost over a decade ago now, I came back and decided to make big floppies, because that was obviously always the goal. We ended our run just when we were about to make our first big floppy book. And we used Kablam, actually. It's not an ad for them, but that's just who we could find. I was trying to find someone that I could print with online. Since then, I found a local printer, which is a lot better. The problem is, because of a busy lifestyle, I have issue 1 in 2014, issue 2 in 2017, issue 3 in 2018, and issue 4 in 2019. And issue 5 is in progress, which is kind of embarrassing in a way, but that's how long it takes. And the artwork between them, and this is something just for anyone who draws that's watching, or any creative. So I'm in my late 40s now, we'll say. And between these 4 issues, in my full adult age, my art style didn't just change, but grew exponentially. It is very different by the last book from the first. And that's not even working hard at learning art or anything. It's just how much my style has changed and whatever. So even if I wanted to collect these in a graphic novel, it would not work, because you'd look at it and go, this is not one succinct story. Unlike this, which is our collection of our original mini comics. We did something similar to what you've done, Chetan, with TikTok Tom. Only black and white, of course, because that's what it was back then. And it's a collection of everything we did, including, we had a couple supplementary stories or comics. One of them was called the Necronomicon, which was completely inspired by TikTok Tom. I'll say we ripped off the aesthetic of it. The cover was a kind of a weird image that didn't really have anything to do with the book.
That's a backstory we should do in our mini comic episode.
Oh, the back had all kinds of, we listed the names the same way you guys would, no, not that one. One of these here, this, where you guys credited everyone on the back. We did that sort of thing. This scene obviously has nothing to do with the inside of the book, but it's there. This cover's kind of creative. That's what we did. We only did 2 issues of it, and basically that was a collection of everyone we knew from school that did art and did comics and wanted to, but had no outlet for it. So we were kind of trying to make a little anthology book for them. And a bunch of other random crap in there too, in that. But since then, I've kind of leapfrogged into many different things which kind of eat up all my time. So getting to the comic is difficult because, as you know, you're writing, you're drawing, if it's color, you're coloring. I'm not good at color, so the covers, a color cover takes me forever because I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to colors. I didn't study anything with art, so this is just me goofing around. So I kind of procrastinate that while I work on other things, which are primarily writing. So I've written a short story collection, which is historical fiction, and I've done games. I make card games, I make mini games, things like that.
That's what I was mentioning to Chris, yes.
So I've made like a little tile laying game. I've made a single player dungeon crawler game. A lot of my stuff is single player stuff because I have a hard time finding a play group to play with. My family doesn't want to hear about games anymore, so they don't want to play the games with me. So I try and do a lot of solo type stuff, which is kind of what I've leaned into. It's also, I don't want to say it's easier because to do a real full-fledged, full release of a game, with between playtesting and everything, you're just as involved as you are with making a comic. But for me to do these, because it's not my primary industry, I can do a card game. Like I've got 2 volumes of this Soloventure game, which is just a little single-player dungeon crawler. It's all in one deck of cards, so it's nice and easy. And the only playtester was me. I played it a few times, and I thought, this is fun. It's done print on demand, so it really doesn't cost anything to get it out there in the world, which is another great thing, is the democratization of stuff.
They do print on demand for cards like that?
Yes, you can do print on demand like this through TheGameCrafter and through drivethrucards. So that's where you can get my stuff. And I have a small Canadian distributor that does role-playing games too, but he's local to Canada and UK. He distributes there. So sometimes you'll see one of these in a random game shop sort of thing. But yeah,
so
GameCrafter.
Let me mention this to you.
Yeah.
You know, with all the print on demand, and especially for cards and even comics and all that stuff, imagine us as 20-year-olds having that option.
Oh my God. Like in a relatable story, my son's huge into music right now, right? Like this is his passion. He wants to be a composer, not because he's my son, but he's pretty good at it too. He's got music on Apple Music and Spotify already. That was unheard of in our day, right? Like the cost to get to that point. And he's doing, his own work at home in his bedroom studio. He's putting it all together. We're popping it up through CD Baby, which is, I think, a one-time fee, and it's listed forever. Now, you're not making huge revenues out of it, but with the mini comic, we were making huge revenues. It was just to get your creativity out there. You got your artwork out there. You got your stuff out there. And for me, the creative process is what I want to share with the world. It's not that I'm going to get rich off of it. It's not that I'm going to turn anything out of it. I need to get this out in the world. I think most people have a creative spark, something they have to get out into the world. And when they do,
I think that's why we did mini comics, because that was the most cost-efficient way to get our work out there. Nowadays, I mean, if we had the options of what we do now, we'd be doing hundreds of comics, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there was that in-between part,
we'd be doing monthly comics.
There was that web comic in-between part where people would just do web comics, which was great too, but I'm not a screen reader. I can't read on a screen. I've tried what used to be Comixology on my iPad. I think I got through the first volume of Saga on there, which was fine, but I tried reading the second one, and I couldn't do it. I needed to read paper. And for the few moments I have free a day with 2 kids and stuff and a day job, that's I need to flip through a book and read it, sort of thing.
So I got a question about your games. Mm-hmm. How does the stories in your games cross over with your comic story style? Is there like similar themes or similar ideas, or is it sort of on its own thing?
I've been working for 4 years maybe, trying to do like a comic book one based on my characters. Hasn't gone anywhere yet because it's really, really a side project. The biggest thing is I made a 2-player black and white card game, and that's where the biggest crossover comes from, is from the black and white art style. And I've only realized much later in life than I should have how different black and white art is versus full color comic art. I guess maybe you notice it more now too, right? You see a colorist and contours of a face are color created. They're not created by the penciler and inker, 80-90% of the time in modern day comics. So I really noticed, and actually digital helped me with that a lot, which sounds maybe counterintuitive, but being able to undo gave me the freedom to push more blacks into everything. So in the past, I would draw something, say, I love how this face looks. I'm not going to put any shadows on it because I don't want to ruin what I did. And then the artwork doesn't look good because you don't have the shadows you need. You don't have that sort of thing. So digital let me go very heavy on that, put a second layer on, blacken everything, and go, you know what? That does look good. So that gave me the inspiration to do a black and white card game, which really leans into that heavily. There's a lot of darks in there. It's not, there's stuff that's left for the eye to interpret and the brain to put in there, sort of thing. I did that in, was it this one? Yeah, my 4th issue here was, I went back to paper. So this is penciled and inked on 1117. And so all my other issues were digital. The other 3 issues I did. This one went back 1117. I brought it in digitally to tone it. But it gave me the confidence, gave me the confidence to do a lot of blacks, which I wouldn't have done before.
That's cool.
I would have said, hey, I've got some detail in there. I don't want to lose it. And now instead I'm like, yeah, I can cover most of it in black. It doesn't matter. Like, it's fine that we lose some of that detail. Your brain will fill it in and it's okay. It's still nerve-wracking when I look at it and go, all right, I'm gonna go over that now, sort of thing. But that's mostly where the inspiration came from. Story-wise and whatnot, I know a lot of games, like a lot of trading card games, things like that, they lean heavily into lore. They want people to really latch onto the story because that's what keeps people enthralled, I guess, or keeps a certain segment or group enthralled. I like the idea of it. I've never gotten into the lore of other games. I try, but I always feel like it's a secondary thought for them. So unlike comics where it's script first, then your art sells you on it. Maybe it's just me. I read a comic by saying, hey, that cover looks beautiful. So I buy the book, and then I completely ignore the artwork when I read it, which is not good because it is a 2-person job to get that done. But games, when they latch or tack on a lore segment, kind of bothers me because I'm like, it's a secondary thought. They usually don't have, as bad as it sounds, top tier writers doing it. I think Magic the Gathering recently had Brandon Sanderson do a story for them, and even reading some of that, because I love Brandon Sanderson's novels, reading a couple chapters of that, I went, it feels hokey almost, because they're talking about characters that you play a card with, and I'm like, no, it's not right. It's like reading a D&D story. I don't like it when there's a character in there that was maybe in a D&D adventure you played, and I'm like, that's just not, it's not right. No, that character did this in my story. Why are they doing this in their story? So I don't lean too heavily into the writing in the games, even though I guess I could. It's also just a time commitment thing, right? So I do all my own artwork for the games too, because I'm not a fan of, or I don't have the money to pull from everyone else, but I also am not a fan of doing any other means to get the artwork sort of thing. So I just do my own artwork for everything and hope for the best. It takes time, but it's worthwhile in the end.
And you were saying earlier about not putting your comics together because the art styles change so much over the time. And to some degree, I almost think you should do that, but you should mention sort of about the time thing, because one of the things that we found is as a learning tool for people, because you were talking about how TikTok Tom made it seem approachable, like oh, you can do this. And to some degree, I almost think it would almost be like a public service for you to put out that book and go, listen, if your stuff improves and changes as you produce, because it happens with everybody's book. Everybody looks at their old books and is like, oh my God, I want to redraw that. And then they get to their modern stuff and they're like, this is like,
well,
and then
why do you think the TikTok Tom mini took so long to come out? Because I held off on doing that because I was just like, I don't like my old artwork.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Chris is right. For yours, I would say to see the progress from issue 1 to issue 4, people would say, hey, wow, this, this is amazing, and again, if, like you said, when you walk into comic stores don't carry our books anymore, but if someone buys your book at a con or a show or something, they'll look at it and say, a teenager especially might look at it and say, hey, wow,
Yeah.
And going back to what you said, hey, I could do this.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny talking about conventions. I think the last Fan Expo I went to, because I had been going there before it was called Fan Expo, when it was, I think, just Toronto Comic Con or something, and had a different name, but got bought out, whatever. The last Fan Expo I went to was pre-COVID, and I think one person came up to my table and went, oh, comics, finally. What do you have? I want to buy a couple. Because nothing in Indie Alley was comics. I think it was me, it was Jason from Group of 7, and a couple guys from the US whose comics were priced at like $10-15 a piece for a floppy, just so that they could cover their table costs and all that. And that's kind of what shied me away from it, because Fan Expo's $600 a table or more now probably, and one guy was interested in
700.
700, okay.
700 and something. Yeah.
And one guy was interested in comic books out of a 3-day event, it was 4-day event actually, because they do Thursday too, I think. It's the biggest convention in Canada, one of the biggest in North America, and one guy out of that whole group of people was interested in comic books. So
no, that's why I looked into it for the spring show. Mm-hmm. And when I looked at the table price, I couldn't justify spending that much. First of all, let's round it off to $700 a table, and everything, let's say you get one person or two person, you're at a loss on that.
Yeah, huge loss.
The time you wasted, the food, the drive.
Yep.
It's a big loss, and your fan base is not there anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris and I have talked about this before. Comic Cons and all that. They shouldn't be called Comic Cons because there's no comics there.
I actually the last because I went with my wife a couple times because she does crafting, and that stuff sold well. And the last time, one of the times I went, I told her, I said, I don't even want to be here anymore for the on a table. I want to be here to be at the show and see stuff, because I think it's when there were a few image guys coming by. I think it was Lee was there or McFarlane, one of them, and I wanted to get something signed, and I'm like, I can't even do that. Oh, it was McFarlane, because I went and got in line for the signature. I was too far back in the line. They said, no, here's the cutoff. And I walked back to my table. And my wife goes, hey, that guy you wanted to go get signed, he walked by and looked at all the stuff here in the Indie Alley. He stopped for a second here. And I'm like, really?
Oh, really?
And this Todd McFarlane coming by. Not that it meant anything. I mean, I probably had to shoot 2 out or something at the time. But it was just like, really? I could have just said hi to him and said, hey, here's the book. You want to sign this comic for me of yours? Because it just like, I went and waited in line and for nothing. But then again, attending costs a fortune too now. I think it's well over $60 a ticket. Last time I went, it was $60.
That's it.
It's just not worth it.
I mean, unless you're getting your Funko Pops signed or seeing some actor, wrestler or actor.
Yep.
That's the only reason to go. I mean, for comic wise, it's not worth it. Last year we did a show at the Mississauga Library, Mississauga Comic Expo, and no joke, we're looking around the tables and everything. Everyone had these Funko Pop anime stuff. Mm-hmm. And we're looking, and one of the representatives from the library walked by, and we go, I thought this was called Comic Expo.
Yeah. Yep.
Not saying, okay, when they have anime and all that stuff, that's great. But this was like, keychains and, that type of stuff. And, nothing against them, but come on, it's called Comic Con.
Well, and
I'm old school.
A lot of them ask in their applications, too, like, what do you sell? Purpose being they don't want to have 5 or 6 people selling the same thing. And yet you get 5 or 6 people selling the same thing, and you look at it and go,
same thing.
What was the auditing of this for? Like, you got 6 people that said they're selling what are those called? Perler beads, right? Those things that you used to iron. You got six people selling those same perler bead things, and you're like, yeah, and not that I'm nothing against them. That's great. You want to do that, but don't have 5 tables worth of these people. It's not drawing anyone in especially when you market it as a comic convention. You market it as a craft fair, different story. Totally understand. You're gonna have a bunch of random stuff like that.
That's it. Yes.
But even then, limit how much of it, right? You don't want too much.
Okay, Jeff, you mentioned your artwork, and you said 11 by 17. Mm-hmm. So, are you completely digital now, or are you still old school? Or both?
I am. So I did those 11/17 pen and ink. What year was that? I said 2019. So that was during COVID, because I was home a lot, so I had time to do that. But it took up our entire dining room table, and there was no room for anyone else. I may have spilled ink at some places, but do not tell my wife, because she can't see it, because the chairs always stay under and they're in shadow, so it's good. No one has to know. But I am 98% digital. I went to an art show in north of the city called the Art Block, and I had some pencil drawings, which were prints of digital pencils I had done of trees. I had an inspiration to do I know a lot of people that suffer from different mental illnesses, and I had this inspiration to do a couple tree-themed ones that kind of showed, they had a quote from, I think one was from Paul Coelho, one was from Lord of the Rings, and I can't remember where the third one was from, but anyways, these 3 beautiful quotes that kind of inspired people. Oh, one was from Winnie the Pooh. It was what if a tree falls on me, and the answer was, what if it doesn't? So it was kind of like a way to tell people, they're feeling this anxiety or whatever of going out into the world, but what if nothing bad does happen? Think of the joy you'll have. And I was hoping it would help people. And sorry, that's a bit of a digression, but so I did these tree sketches because, the strength of a tree, whatever. I just found it inspiring. And someone asked me once, people would ask me when they'd come by, they'd say, oh, are these all your pencil sketches? And I said, they're prints of them. I said, they're not originals. And they said, how do you do it? And I said, I do it all digitally. And I would say a third of the people, when they heard digital, they just walked away. And I had to explain to them, I said, I do digital because I have a family and I want to spend time with my family. And I can't spend time with my family if I'm in an art studio trying to do these things manually, like physically on paper. I can't sit in front of a TV with my kids or out at their soccer games or watching my son perform in his band with a big 1117 or even a small notebook and sketch and doodle. But I can have my iPad out and be doing it on that. So I use Procreate or Sketchbook, things like that, and I do everything I can digitally for the simple fact of ease of access at any location. So I've pushed as much as I can into digital for that reason, and the tools look really good. Like some of those, not my art, I'm not going to pat myself on the back for the art, but the way the pencils look is really good, and with the textured paper style behind it and all that. So the people that heard that, some of them jumped at the opportunity to buy a print like that because they said, this is great, your story behind it with the mental illness and the fact that you're trying to spend time with your family while you do it. I want you to keep doing it, and that was really. But
let me ask you this:
Mm-hmm.
that's a weird, experience. I'm thinking, if you didn't say you did it digitally, would that person buy your artwork and then later find out it's digital, want their money back?
That's what I don't like. I think people have a misconception of digital, right? They hear it's. I relate it to music a lot. People will look at music and they'll say, "Oh, but that's electronic music, right? That's industrial music, right?"
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you guys were fans of like KMFDM and other industrial bands like that, Nine Inch Nails, right? And people will look at that and they'll say, "Well, those guys have guitars in it, so it's real music." It's like, but the digital people had to do it too. And actually, as I've grown older and more mature, I guess, and realized, even sampling, I'm like, good sampling takes skill and talent, and there's something behind that. You can't just sample. People think you just push a button and everything happens in music, and they think it's the same in artwork, right? Now with
prompting, that's in every industry.
Yes, and it's an uphill battle you have to fight, but much like when it comes to politics or anything like that, you're not going to win over the people on the other side of the fence. So if someone says, "Oh, digital, I don't touch that stuff," I don't try and win them over. I go, "Oh, that's okay, each your own." And if someone says, "Why do you do it digital?" then I'll explain myself. And if they're still intrigued, then I can keep going with it. Because they do think
that's
digital is push a button and go.
That's the first time I think Chris and I talked to anyone. That's the first time we've experienced hearing that. And I'm thinking someone coming to an art show would not care how the art's created as long as you're creative,
You would think, but I think it's how sometimes you get these people. It's like the online shopper, right? Someone goes into a store and they know more than the person selling you the product in a store because they've done all their online research. And that's what it feels like is, well, I've looked online and they say this about digital art and they say that about regular art. And I'm like, if you're getting to that point, then you're not interested in the art or the artist. You're just interested in proving your point, I guess, or something. I don't know where they're coming from with it, really. Like, it doesn't make sense.
And I like your approach. I like your approach now. If you get that, don't waste your breath on those people because bottom line is they're not going to buy your work anyways.
Yeah. It's helped a lot actually doing the games because I'll tell people, I'll say, "Hey, do you like roguelike dungeon crawlers?" And if they say no, I don't even try. I just put it away. "Hey, do you like tile laying games?" "No." "Do you like 2-player quick games?" "No." "Okay, then I don't have a game for you. We're good." But if they like any of those, I can jump into something, right? Same idea when they ask what the comic's about. "What's your comic about?" I go, "Well, it's kind of a little superhero-y, kind of a little time travel-y, kind of a little crimey. Like it's not really easy to pigeonhole or to explain, so it also doesn't fly off the shelves. But if it was simple to say, 'Oh, it's a superhero book. You like Superman? You're gonna like my book,' then they'll be like yes or no, and you can just move on. So that's the one I still struggle with trying to make people understand what it is and why they should buy it.
So when you do your cards, when you do your cards, is it all digital also, or do you do hand drawings on them?
No, they're all digital, all the cards so far. I'm going to open a couple of these here to show you. So I made very specific design choices with them. Like actually I shouldn't say they're all that way. So in this set, in the Soloventure ones, you have these dungeon cards you lay out and then do what it says on the card. So it kind of gives you a mini bit of story and some actions to do. Those are done digitally, all the art for it, and then they're put through because I was trying to teach myself how to use some tools. Those are put through. I guess it's not going to focus properly on the camera here. I'll hold it back here.
Don't worry, we'll get a shot from you and we'll pop up an image on it.
Here, I'll point at it. Pop it up there. Anyway, so that I put it through because I was trying to teach myself how to use certain tools as well. So this goes through something that lays everything out for you based on an Excel spreadsheet. But all of my artwork in here, I was pushing myself to do ink style, painterly style, like very rough, very painter. I think I used Outeredge for these on the iPad to try and get that.
Okay.
Whereas if I go to my, sorry, I'll put that away later. If I go to the black and white one, again, this was all digital, but it's all done pen and ink style. So it was just as much blacks as I could get in there, a little bit of texturing and stuff like that. And it was all, it's all done digitally just because of the ease of transition between things. That's the other thing is when you do,
that's it, yes.
When you do paper, scanning is a pain and a hassle. Or if you photograph it, lighting is a pain and a hassle.
Oh yeah, it is.
Whereas if you just have it digital from the get-go, it just makes life easier. You can just keep moving it through things.
That's the worst part because I was scanning something.
We had a previous episode where we talked about cheating in art.
Yes, that's I was about to bring that. I was about to bring that up.
Rulers or French curves, even in traditional art, you can't win. Like I do all my stuff. I actually draw. I do like 11 by 17, and people will see my borders and be like, "How do you draw such a straight line?" I'm like, "They're called rulers," and they're like, "Well, that's cheating." It's like, how is that cheating?
I used to think
so you can't win.
I used to think referencing was cheating, and I thought that much too late into life. Like literally, I think issue 3 of my book, I started using the reboot of my book. I started using referencing. So that's like 5-6 years ago. I thought referencing was cheating until I think I watched an episode or a clip from was it Adam Hughes maybe? It was one of the big artists who draws. I think it was Adam Hughes. He draws like tigers and stuff like that. A lot of like animals, right? In some of his things. And he said, there's just a throwaway comment from him. He said, when they tell me they want me to draw a tiger, I draw a tiger. I know what a tiger looks like. But when they say I need a Siberian blah, blah, blah tiger, he goes, I pull up my reference. And I'm like, oh. And then I saw his setup. He has his little digital pad or paper. And above him, he's got a big, 42-inch monitor that his reference sits on. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing people do. They actually reference stuff. And I was in my early 40s when that clicked in, and I went, yeah, that's not cheating. Who would have thought that wasn't cheating? I don't know why I thought it was in the past. No, you can't reference things. No way.
I thought the same way when I was younger, going, references, don't use references. Then I remember reading some interview with an artist, and they showed photograph of the studio, and they showed these file cabinets. And his file, this is before the internet.
Yeah.
And he had files of, photographs and clips and, cutouts from whatever magazines and stuff. And at that time, I realized, oh yeah, I should do that also.
Yeah, it's like using maquettes and things. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what I've actually done is even when I post stuff online now, and I've only started to do this recently, is I will sometimes I do these little time lapse things like for my Procreate things. I will export my time lapse of my drawing, and I will actually import my reference into that movie and put it at the side so people can look at my reference while I'm drawing it. So that way, young people who are doing this go, oh my God, he uses a reference.
That's it.
That's okay.
That's nice.
But also sort of to give people an idea. It's like, this is where my thought, I had this picture of Metamorpho, and I don't remember what all of his colors are. So I downloaded these pictures and I put them at the bottom. And in Procreate, it's great because you can just make it a layer and then sort of draw on top of it and have your reference. Literally, you're looking at it right in front of you. So as you say, I have many times, I do a lot of just doodling in front of the TV. So I just put my references into my sort of file, my Procreate file. And so, but then I for a while, even I would say in the last 2 years, I would sort of edit that part out because I'd be like, well, I don't want to see my references. But now I specifically, I'll even bring in references that maybe I'm not, maybe I flip through and sort of oh yeah, this inspired me. But I'll bring them in specifically and leave them there for a bit in my video to sort of go, when I was drawing this is what I was looking at. And so I think that, I think encouraging it and even saying it here is a good way of telling people. It's like reference and
people want to see that.
Digital, it's all okay. It's all fine. Well, you know what I mean?
People want to see the progress, step by step.
So speaking of Procreate, like you said, with showing the time lapse and whatnot, there was a bit of a controversy not too long ago. People were posting their time lapses, and people watching it were, you know how a cartoonist, like a Sunday strip type cartoonist, will just put their pen down and then they'll draw a perfect Garfield or something like that. You'd be like, how, right? And it's obviously their experience. They've done this for so long. They know what this character looks like from just putting their pen on paper. People were doing that, but with like very well rendered stuff. And it turns out Procreate activated a feature where you could hide your reference layer on export. So people would bring in a beautiful image, basically trace it, and then export without it. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Yeah. And I mean, my thing that I'm happy about is my art is not good enough for anyone to think I've just traced something. I think, at least I don't think.
I feel the same.
But speaking of tracing, I do.
We're in the same boat. All three of us are in the same boat.
If I pose a maquette or whatever for something, I'll take a picture of it, bring it into Procreate, and use that as my base to trace sort of thing.
That's interesting because I've looked at some Instagram. I looked at some artist videos on their reels or whatever it's called, and I have seen that where people take a pen and just start drawing and stuff. And I'm looking at them going, "That's super." And now you got me thinking, going, "Is that?" Wow, that's definitely cheating. If it is just tracing.
It's bad enough. I saw someone brought up that if you sketch lightly, and because people were showing, they're saying, "No, look, I can do this on paper too." And they said if you watch carefully by the pen where there's a shadow cast, you can see a little bit of pencil line. So they sketch lightly enough, turn up their brightness and turn down their contrast, and you can't see the pencils on their page that they're inking, so that it looks like they're just drawing this freehand, which is silly in a way because when it comes to art, any form of creativity, music, visual art, film, whatever, I don't see why someone has to prove that they've done something so good. Just get the message out there, get it out there, right? Like it's one thing to say I've spelt things wrong in my book. Okay, try and do some spell checking, but you don't have to have the perfect photo rendering of something, right? Like we're not at realism right now.
And this is what if anything, like I look at artwork, like I learned animation, like I'm an animator by trade, and to me the pencil tests were like this, like, oh my god, I love this. Like the cleaned up stuff looks great, and I love that. But like, if you show me a pencil test from Snow White, I'm drooling over it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
To me, it's like, it's funny. Like when I do my videos, when I post my time lapses, I include like literally I start with my circle and my line of action and all that. Like
that's awesome.
I start with that, and then I'm like, just follow this, and I show all my rough lines underneath it and everything like that. So it's like I feel like you're cheating the people, but I also feel like even me watching them, like when I'm watching somebody ink something beautifully, there's a few exceptions. Like I think I saw some Jim Lee original art being inked by the inker who does his work, and she's like a master, and so that was like a wonderful thing to see. But for most time when I see somebody, it's like, look at this artwork I created with one stroke. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. I'm sort of interested in learning how you got to that one stroke. I don't mind ending there, but like I've lost interest immediately if I see this stuff. And I've seen stuff too where people say that they're drawing, but again, if you look closely, you can actually see the drawing underneath that they're tracing, and that's fine, even if it's their drawing. Like I don't disagree with that, but it seems like you're just doing a discredit to art.
I think that's the
issue is lying about it, right? Just tell someone, hey, look, I did this. It's no problem, right? Like I've done. What did I do? I did a drawing of me and my brother for Brother's Day a few years ago. I took a photo of us, I outlined our faces with it, and then I went back in and did everything. And I didn't tell anyone, oh yeah, I drew this from freehand. No, I can't do a perfect rendering of me and my brother's faces freehand. I traced our faces roughly, got the shape of everything, and then I went back in and inked it up or penciled it up like with shading and did all that freehand. Yeah. Because that's what I had to do. That was the limit of my skill ability, and I freely admit that. I think of it sometimes comparing like the raw energy of Frazetta versus the polished kind of blandness of Vallejo, right? Like the Boris and Frazetta comparison, right? Like I grew up around art. My dad was a huge art aficionado. He went to OCAD back when it was OCA and for photography and stuff like that. So his room was always full of art books, comic books, all that sort of stuff. So I was exposed to all that, and over time, I saw the Boris stuff and went, this is gorgeous, this is beautiful. And then as I grew up, I kind of went, wait a minute. Yep. This Frazetta stuff where you have like three paint strokes that are not a face. When you hold it at 2 feet from your face, you go, hey, that's a beautiful face. I see all that now.
And Boris goes back to what we were saying about the photo reference. You could tell he used photo reference. Where Frazetta might have used photo reference, but he changed it enough to make it unique.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There There was a Frazetta painting I saw once. I think I posted about it on my Instagram, and I said this is when I'm going to give up on art, because he had a stroke later in life and lost use of his right hand. He was right-handed, so he had to teach himself how to paint again with his left hand. And it's probably one of the most beautiful paintings I've ever seen. And I looked at it and I go, this guy's in his 60s or whatever it was, and taught himself how to draw all over again with his left hand. Way better than I could ever do in 40 years of experience with my right hand. I'm like, I'm done. I can't do art. This guy knows what he's doing, and I'm done.
Yeah.
No, but what you were mentioning about Procreate, I never knew that feature thing. Now that's interesting. But as an artist, or or even let's say a teenager or 12-year-old or whatever, when you're looking at art, we talked about this in a previous episode, where when you go to Comic-Con and you see original art and you see all the pencil lines and all the whiteouts and everything, your mind just opens up completely, And I think with the digital age, I think they should be showing more of their, like Chris said, from pencil stages to the final stages, because that's what's going to impress people. Yep.
Look at,
I hate to say it,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, hate to say it. I mean, anyone who could do a line drawing and do a portrait of you, who cares? Honestly, I mean, I want to see all the stuff from.
We have photography now. We don't need to do photorealism, and it's great if you can, but you don't have to. You can actually enjoy yourself and make the art what you want, right? Like it's very different now.
No, even photorealism. I watch videos on Instagram or on YouTube where people are doing photorealistic paintings, but it's how they get to the final product is what I want to see. I don't want to see the final.
You see
product.
those little clips by, is it Philip Sue or something like that? He always does like these landscape drawings, and they look gorgeous in the end, right? It's got like a dragon flying over a mountain sort of thing, but he shows you his process sped up because he runs classes and all that, and it always starts very blocky, very simple. It's like 3 brushes he uses in Procreate, and it shows you up to about 90% of his finished product, and then he cleans it up and cuts to that little clip of like it all finished beautifully. But the point of it is you see that process and go, it's a handful of shapes. Yeah. Like he'll do a cityscape and he just literally takes his brush and draws like 5 vertical things and then a bunch of little vertical windows in it. Yes, at the end he goes in and he tidies things up a little bit, adding the little bits he needs here and there, but you do what he's doing up until that 95% point and then hold it at arm's length and you go, yeah, it looks the same. I did that cityscape or whatever, right? Like I've done the thing I need to do. And I like that sort of thing. Not the long drawn out style, but a quicker little faster process to it sort of thing. I think that's nice, almost like speed painting, but it just shows you that you can accomplish this stuff. Don't over scrutinize.
Bob Ross, sadly, I mean, I know you mock him and everything, but I teach an art class and I'll play Bob Ross videos in the background throughout the entire thing. And his wisdom about that sort of thing, it's like you make a splotch and you turn it into a mountain because, or you make a splotch and you see what it turns into and things like that. And the fact that he can do a piece of artwork from beginning to end in half an hour and he's not, I mean, I know he practices, I know he does like 7 or 8 of the same thing to sort of get it done for the cameras and everything. But just the fact that, he sits there and he's like, blop, clip, 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 and you've got a mountain. And it's like his process is amazing.
But when you're at a young age, you need to see that type of stuff, because I remember watching Ross when I was, very young, and it's like, wow, it's just like, how did he do this, and you might not want to do that, but at least you're learning.
Yeah, it goes back to like what I've been.
And actually, what I
was going to say, it goes back to what I was saying about your book, the idea of making, you should show stuff, and like doing the old TikTok Toms is like, there needs to be more artists out there that are making art approachable and, and doable. Like I've mentioned this in the past too, with my character in my comic, I draw it very simply, and it's because one of the lessons I learned was if you draw a character that kids can copy or that people can copy and sketch, you're going to have a lot more interaction, a lot more people interested in your stuff. And I've even literally sold copies of my comic book because I keep it, it's a very simple design, my character, like really super simple. And so I've literally sold books, and then I'll be at the place where I'm selling them, and I'll see somebody off in the corner with their sketchbook copying my drawings. And I'm just like, wow, that's what I want. That's exactly what I want.
Yep.
That worked.
So
it worked.
That makes a lot of sense.
There needs to be more approachability to artwork in general, in comic books, in everything, and I think there's so much opportunity to do it.
We've democratized the publishing of it. We've democratized the printing of it, with print on demand. Everything's been done except for the actual artwork. That's still kind of gate kept a little bit, right? Yeah. By some people. Some people like yourself, go ahead, look at all this stuff, right? It shows you the journey, shows you where you were. As bad as it is that I don't want to show the old stuff, like you're saying, Chetan, when you do it with your book, you do need to see that process to be like, look where I was and where I've come to, right? Like there's parts of my story I'm embarrassed with, and I would never show someone. I mean, I have to admit, I corrected the spelling when we went on, because I'm like, I'm not going to leave where we spelt words wrong. Because we taxed one guy in the group, in our group of 3, one of the guys was taxed as being our editor, but we never actually let him edit anything. He just was more of like a single panel type artist. Actually, he's the guy that laid out all of my new books for me, because I kind of lost that inspiration for storyboarding, and he has a great eye for it. He's an art graduate as well and has a great eye for it, so I got him to do all the layouts for me. But back in the day, he was our editor because he would contribute 1 or 2 really nice or funny pieces to the book, and we just put editor on it. And poor guy, spelling mistakes like crazy because it was either hand lettered or in a computer without spell check or whatever. It was just terrible. So I corrected all that for the new version.
That's fair enough.
So you mentioned you use Procreate. Do you have a what tablets do you use? If you don't mind,
iPad, I use an iPad. I use the bigger one. Is that the 11-inch? Whatever the bigger iPad is. I got myself one of those, the first generation one that came out with the first generation Apple Pencil, because I was going between that or a Microsoft Surface. So I started with a Surface. I tried that. Getting the pen to work well with it and whatnot was just a hassle, because it was either a WinTab, I think was one driver, or I could use a different driver, and just never felt right, and the screen was too small. It was probably about that big. I know this gives no reference because it's on screen, but it was a small screen, 12-inch, or not 12-inch, like a 10-inch or 11 or something. So the iPad must be bigger. Anyways, I tried that for about a year and a half. I think I did a little bit on there with, what's that program called now? It's one specifically meant for comics. Clip Studio, yes. I did a little bit of Clip Studio on that, a little bit of Sketchbook. Wasn't really feeling it, and then I convinced myself that it was worth spending all that money on the iPad Pro or whatever it was called at the time, and it was like a world of difference. I don't know why. That Apple Pencil, just missing an eraser bit. It needs that so you can just flip it over, but other than that, it was phenomenal, and I've upgraded since then.
I've heard that.
So good.
Yeah, I've heard that where people are really, I've used Apple iPad on my daughter's tablet, but she has the basic version. I still haven't. I have a regular drawing tablet, and I've heard that with the iPad Pro that it's amazing.
You might like
the Apple Pencil is like a dream.
Sketchbook by Autodesk.
This is a tool that.
Oh, it's incredible. And that's the first gen one, right? The new one is even better because it's got like a flat side. It's easier to hold. It's a little bit lighter weight. So when I upgraded to that, the first one was a world of difference, and now it's like another big leap forward. It was worth the upgrade. But try also Autodesk Sketchbook on your daughter's iPad. It's I think they have a free version of it, and that gives you a real good sense of pencil and ink sort of thing. I think the inking's better on Procreate, but the pencils are really good on that. It gives you a real sketchy feel.
We bought Procreate. I've used it a few times. She uses it all the time. So, and for me, for my comics, I just been doing it on my regular tablet and desktop, and I haven't switched to a handheld tablet yet.
You have a screen tablet, or no? You have the other kind, like a Wacom with no screen on it.
That's it.
World of difference when it's connected. I can't believe how smooth. I even have a full size, like a 20-inch Wacom like desktop style screen, and I still use the iPad most. Yeah. It's just that much more intuitive, that much easier, that much more mobile. The mobility is just killer, right? You can bring it anywhere,
anytime. Mobility is a big one. Like
it just makes it.
I take a lot of flights. Yeah. I travel a lot, and the fact that I've colored most of my comic books on a plane, it makes a huge difference. I can just sit there on the plane. If I'm flying for 7 hours, I don't look at it as, oh my God, 7 hours. I'm like, I'm going to finish a comic. It's a completely different thing.
You're like, thank God, 7 hours. I can get this done with no interruption.
Exactly.
Pop in the headphones and just go.
Exactly. So So we should probably wrap up, because I was going to say we should probably wrap up, because we've been taking too much of our guests' time, but we should definitely have them back again. So
we definitely need to do it. We need to do another episode on our
yes,
mini-con.
focusing on that.
Just talk about
we also need to do one on just drawing.
Yeah.
Because about 3 or 4 different people I've talked to. There's an artist out of Macedonia who used to do the card game that I was involved in for a while. He wants to do a session of just drawing. I mean, he's phenomenal, so I'm nowhere near him, but he wants to do like a live drawing thing. So we need to do something like that too, where the 3 of us just sit, pick a character and draw. So
for sure.
We should try and do that sometime.
Definitely.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, or get an audience prompt, and then we all produce something and send it back and see how different it looks, right? Like kind of like a mini, what's it called, Inktober.
Exactly.
But it's just give us an idea. We'll all draw our own version of whatever it is.
That's awesome. So where can people get your stuff?
Okay, I'm going.
Right now, most of it is only available. Well, I shouldn't say most of it. Some of it is available at conventions when I do go to them. You can get my comics, my games, and my books at those conventions at kind of a weird website, Outeredge.
No, don't worry. We'll put it out. We'll put
Outeredge.square.site.
We'll put a link at the bottom.
So it's a Square reader thing. You can find links at outeredge.co, outeredge.co. That has all of my links to what I'm involved with, whether it's writing. I dabble a little bit into music. Basically everything's there. I did a podcast reading my stories, if that's the way you like to consume your media. A bunch of different stuff there. Outeredge.co takes you to most places. My games are available on TheGameCrafter, drivethrucards, or through a Canadian distributor called Compose Dream Games. He's a smaller distributor out of Peterborough, I think, and he distributes in Canada and the UK, but also sells direct off his website. And if not, you can just send me a message through Instagram or wherever else you find me, and chances are I can get you something if you need it.
Awesome.
The other thing I wanted to do is drop these off in those, they have those mini libraries all over the place people put on their lawn.
Yeah.
I figured I should go drop my book off there. Why not? Yes. Maybe someone will want to grab it and flip through it and read it. And if they don't like it, they just put it in another mini library and someone else can read it. Someone will catch on to the historical fiction. Perfect. It's kind of a fictionalized story of my grandfather's move from Italy to Canada during the war and all that. So it's got a little bit of personal stuff in it, but really fictionalized.
Well, we'll put all the links at the bottom, so anyone wishing to purchase your books, we'll put out your Instagram and
Amazon too. Sorry, the books are all on Amazon, of course. The comic, the main graphic novels on there, as well as the other book are both on there. I forgot about that too, of course.
Well, thanks for being on the show, and I mean, I think this is just the beginning of many episodes, so I think we'll be doing this again.
Yes.
So this is very cool. And do you have any final words? Anybody?
Everyone has something creative in them. Whatever it is, get it out there. Whether it's dancing, drawing, writing, reading out loud, there's something creative in everyone that needs to get out. And once you get it out, you'll feel like a better person for it. Whatever your creative outlet is, you have one, get it out. Maybe singing along to music in the shower. Just do it as much as you can, and you'll be a better person for it. In this day and age, you really need that, and you'll feel good after.